Welcome to KLEAN Radio. How you doing, Judah?
I am sick with the plague you gave me.
It's the best gift I could have given you.
It is. It's like you gave me some really bad...
It's been an awful cold. I don't, it's everybody's saying it's viral, but I don't know.
At least I know it's not arsenic, which I was a
never-
little worried
you
about.
never know. You have a new girlfriend, right? So
That's, yes, new.
arsenic's always a possibility. I do watch Dayline.
On ID.
Yeah, right?
I'm absolutely addicted to that.
My wife is too, which scares the hell out of me. I don't know.
Well, it scares me that I'm addicted to the same thing as your wife.
Well, it's true. How was your week?
It was great. And we're also broadcasting out of Angel Stadium. We always forget to talk about that.
Yeah, and we have tickets to give away.
Yeah, we do have tickets to give away tonight. We haven't thought of the trivia question yet.
We never think of the trivia question. Maybe the trivia question should be, what's a good trivia question?
What is a good trivia question? I would love to give away the tickets to, what's his name? What was the caller's name last week?
Frank, I believe.
Frank.
Yeah, that was a great call.
So, Frank, if you're listening, we would love to give you Angels tickets.
Right. Call up and tell us what gender you're I don't know. I got nothing.
You got nothing. But I was a little disturbed, and I think it's something I want to talk about in a few minutes is, if anybody follows the news, every single poker site was shut down on Friday.
Right.
And, obviously it's a major addiction, but, like, part of me was like, is it, we've had this discussion is if you're going to gamble, you're going to gamble.
Sure.
Yeah. It doesn't.
You're going to do drugs. You're going to
do drugs, right? It doesn't matter how much advertising is out there because since the beginning of time, man has been getting high,
gambling and doing
drugs and prostitution. I mean.
Yeah, regulation works to some extent, but prohibition has never really worked, and this is just another setback, I guess, for poker players.
I guess it's good for me, for a recovering gambler. It's great.
If they're going to sit there for 12 hours playing poker, at least now they have to get up and get to the car and then drive to the poker card room.
Have you ever seen the
40 steps of exercise instead of 0?
Have you ever seen the unhealth in a casino? I mean, that might be quite possibly the most unhealthy place in the world.
I am always attracted to the women with the oxygen tank. It's just pecking like chickens on the buttons,
eating, smoking, drinking.
But that's kind of the point, right? It's like an escapist fantasy.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later you wake up and realize you.
Well, it's really funny. One time I'm sure our guest tonight has been to Vegas, but my friend, I'll never forget this. We were going, this years ago, my friend Joel and I were going to Vegas, and he goes to me, we're on the plane ride there, and it's like the Southwest cattle car, and he goes, Judah, just look at the happy faces on the plane. So look how happy everybody. I just want you to take a mental picture of the happiness going on in this plane right now. You can see the dreams and the plans people have in their head. He goes, now just wait for the flight home.
It's like 1:30 at the bars.
Yeah, it was like, right. It was like, and I'll never forget the plane ride home.
Right.
Was like, you could see, it was like the planning going there was like, what am I going to buy with the money I win for this house?
Right.
The ride home is, oh my God, I just lost my house.
Well, one person that 1:30 at the bars I know has never been a problem for is our guest, Dr. Reef Karim. That would be his wonderful segue.
That was great. That was fantastic.
Is that the first one that's been?
If I could have thought, I couldn't have thought of a better intro than that.
Right.
That was
fantastic.
Well, welcome.
Thanks.
Dr. Reef, shall we call you? What do you like to go by on the radio? I mean, I know you personally, so it's hard to...
You can call me whatever you want.
I can call you whatever
I'm kind of scared to give you that intro, but yeah.
I know, especially now, because he's like Dr. Handsome.
Yeah. Right? But just a quick background, maybe you could give our listeners, obviously you're a psychiatrist and an addictionologist.
Yeah, I'm board certified in addiction medicine. I'm board certified in psychiatry, and I'm a certified relationship therapist. So sex, drugs, relationships, living in L.A.,
right.
Great job security.
It is.
It's all good.
And I've seen you on multiple television shows and other programs. I saw you on CNN, I believe, I think just a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I try to get around.
That's what I like to hear.
I've been on a few shows here and there.
Right.
Just doing messages to the people. That's
Messages to
what
the
it's
people.
about. Messages to
spreading the
people.
word.
It's true. You'll never run out of business in LA. It's like being a therapist dealing solely with body dysmorphia. If you solely deal with that in the state of LA or Hollywood, you'll have business forever.
The problem, though, is that my business is all about like train wrecks.
Right.
I'm like the train wreck guy. Like,
Right.
if you have a happy-go-lucky story and like, hey, wow, you won the lottery, you're not going to call me.
Right.
But if someone's
Until
like,
your family starts trying to kill you for the money.
yeah, you
Right.
get a transsexual heroin junkie who just did, just speedballed up. Hey, call Dr. Reef. Where is he? It's not.
Nobody ever comes to you when it's all good.
Yeah.
You never get
So
people
that's-
walking into therapy going, we want our marriage just to be a little better.
I know, right? I would love somebody just to come up and go, hey, I really have nothing going on. There's no crisis. I just wanted to say hi. That's all I want.
So the relationship therapy you're doing, that's new. I didn't know you were doing that. Is that recent? That
Yeah, I did that at UCLA. I got
okay.
it when I'm an assistant professor there. I did my training there, and part of the training was to do relationship therapy, just because so much of whether we're talking about addiction or we're talking about mental health, it's a family disease when one person's got it. So I really wanted to understand from the dynamic of couples therapy how that applies to the family and the spouse, and it's a very kind of specific training of its own.
So if you had to classify yourself as a particular type of therapist, are you using CBT, DBT, psychoanalytic theory?
Okay, so to the layman, what did you just say?
Well, let's let him explain.
So I do work with family of origin. So it's more psychodynamic psychotherapy. But I've learned cognitive behavioral therapy. So to the layperson,
Okay, yes,
right?
to me.
Okay, so you know what? Okay,
Judah.
Yeah, let's talk to Judah.
It's funny that you say to Judah the laid person because it's sort of the reverse. But yes, anyways, go on.
To the layperson, to Judah. So we got Judah here, right?
Yes.
So if I was doing psychodynamic psychotherapy, and you know that question, hey, tell me about your childhood, and it's like that standard kind of general statement we all make.
Yes.
That question. It's because we want to know what kind of relationships you had early on, like with your primary caregivers, your mom, your dad, to see how those relationships became habitual. Like, I never get my needs met. A female's always trying to control me. A guy is always trying to compete with me. That kind of stuff happens early in childhood, and then you apply that stuff to your relationships in your adulthood unless you break that cycle. So the cycle is you have a controlling mom, you like hang out with a bunch of women in your 20s and 30s, and you're all good, all your relationships are all great, till you get really tight and emotionally connected to them, and then habitually you feel like they're going to control you.
You know me so well.
I know you. I don't even know you, but I know
You don't
you.
even have to know.
Hey, don't think that. I just caught it. Yeah.
Well, we see a lot of object relations sort of issues come up on this show.
Yeah.
And that's very much in the same vein.
Yeah.
Right. So we're looking at and consistency of parenting.
Yeah.
Right. So
And the number here
eight
is 877-830-830. That's 877-830-830. You could also follow us at
KLEANradio.com.
KLEANradio.com
or you can tweet
Klean
us at Klean
Radio on Facebook. That's Klean with a K.
Klean with a K. KLEAN.
That was nice.
Yeah.
I like the way you guys did that.
It took me a while to get it. It took me about 4 weeks to get the number.
Right.
It
He was like 8-7.
It's a very
853.
I don't know. I really.
And we also giving away great Angel tickets. I was actually at the Angel game the other night, and our lovely brand gave me seats in hell. And he gave me literally. He goes to me.
I hate to tell you this, but I paid him to do that.
Yes, I thought you might have. By the way, so I took my girlfriend and her nephew.
You have a girlfriend?
I do have a girlfriend.
No way.
Nobody can believe it, right?
Are you serious?
You actually finally got a girlfriend.
I finally.
Well, he looks like the kind of guy that would just. I mean, he's a good guy, right? He looks like a cool guy, but he looks like the kind of guy that would just talk about not having a girlfriend all the time.
Well, he does, even though he has a girlfriend.
No, she's listening. She's listening. So
then we'll be back to the status quo after the show.
So that's true. So we took her. So we took her nephew. Rand goes. I go to Rand. I said to him, should the kid bring his glove? Maybe he's like, it was right behind home plate. So we get there, and I have a bit of a fear of heights, and which I'm sure you could have guessed too.
Yeah.
We get all the way
amongst other things.
Yeah, yeah. And we literally
Like women.
we're 2 rows from the top of the stadium.
Wow.
2 rows. I mean, the chances of catching a ball in this seat were very slim to none. And anyway, so
I'll buy you a baseball, Judah. And you'll feel better.
I've actually caught a baseball.
I know you've caught one. You can't throw one.
I can't throw one, but I've caught one. But so we are giving
you
away
like Little League. Your dad.
Yeah, I have major issues with that. No. First of all, we only played softball. I grew up in an Orthodox community where baseball wasn't like.
Come on.
I swear to you, baseball for some reason, because we only played on Sundays, we didn't play on Saturdays.
They banned baseball.
We just didn't have it. It was probably a little too dangerous.
How do you not have baseball? Come on.
It was, we just didn't. I mean, let me ask you a question. Every time somebody ever says Jewish baseball player, everybody goes Sandy Koufax. It was 1950, okay? We haven't had really anybody.
I'm Indian. The littlest, tiniest village, the slum village in India, still knows about baseball.
Well, you guys know more about cricket.
Yeah, well, you know, cricket, baseball.
Yeah, cricket. Yeah, I like cricket.
Both
Better than
bats.
softball.
Trust me. I wish I was. So yeah, we had a great softball league.
So anyway, we described the first type of therapy.
Yes.
And now we'll give Reef a chance to describe
Is that
cognitive
Jungian?
behavioral therapy.
So what's Jungian therapy?
Jungian?
Jungian, yes. I would
All right, so cognitive behavioral therapy is the next thing we're talking about. You try to change the way somebody thinks. So you can actually go through exercises. A lot of them are manualized. So you actually go through a manual with somebody. They have their manual. You have yours as a professional. And you go through thought process techniques. So like a thought stopping technique. Like one of the things we talk about is like some people call it follow through or think through the drink or it's basically like, okay, should we use Jude on every single one of these?
Yeah, please go for it.
Every example, should we use him?
He's
Go-
perfect.
I'm-
I'm
I'm a mess.
He's
yes.
like a walking bag of pathology.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so you've got Judah. Judah's an alcoholic, right? Judah's like there's something in
You're
addiction.
1 for 1.
Yeah, I know, right? It's because he never played baseball. And
Yes.
he
Two for
still
two.
thinks about it.
Traumatized.
Traumatized. So you're an alcoholic and you've gone through recovery, and every time you pass by this one liquor store on your way home, you always start your brain gets lit up with cues. And we know in research that cue-induced craving is almost as strong as actually taking the drink itself, right? For somebody who's got the genetic predisposition for addiction. So you pass by that liquor store, your brain lights up in the pleasure circuit area, the reward circuit area, and you're just like, oh, I want to drink. I want to drink. I want to drink. So you come to me and you're like, every time I pass by this liquor store, I always want to drink. What do I do? And you're on autopilot, right? It's that habitual neuronal connection in your brain of, I see it, I want it, let's go. And you have to keep forcibly stopping yourself from doing it. So a thought-stopping technique, like thinking through the drink, might be, all right, let's talk through this. So what happens? Okay, so I drive by the liquor store, I pull over, I look at it, I stare at the sign, I stare at this woman who always goes inside, I look at the brown paper bag, I'm thinking about it, I want it. How do you not do it? I pinch myself, I turn up the radio really loud, I get a cold shower, I do all this random stuff. All right, well, let's talk about I'm going to allow yourself to actually go to the liquor store. Let's see what happens. Like mentally, let's go to the liquor store. So you go to the liquor store mentally, I'm like, well, then what happens? Okay, well, then I go in.
I like that he's playing me too.
Right?
Yeah, I'm doing both sides.
You're doing both of
It's
it.
because you're not capable of playing yourself.
Yes,
Judah.
I know.
Well, this is the alcoholic version of Judah.
Yes,
That's
this is
all
me,
you-
yes.
I mean, the sober one. Yeah,
Right.
it's okay.
Well, it was method acting for a while for Judah. Just hasn't assumed the role yet.
So you go through and we talk through it, and you're like, yeah, I see the cashier. The cashier looks kind of creepy. He's got this weird tattoo on his neck, whatever. And you talk through the whole thing, and then I go, then what happens? Well, then I drink it. Then I get a whole bunch of Jack and a couple of bags, and then I start. When would you start drinking it? I drink it in the alley behind, and then I'd end up in my car. Then what would happen? Well, then I'd probably be drunk by then, so I'd probably drive drunk. Well, then what would happen? Well, then I'd probably get busted because I've already had 3 DUIs and a 4th one would send me to jail. Well, then what would happen? If I went to jail, my wife told me, my girlfriend told me that she'd leave me. Okay, so then what would happen? Well, then if my girlfriend left me and I was in jail, I wouldn't have anybody to bail me out for a while. Okay, then what would happen? Well, then I'd be in jail for a while. That would suck, and then I would get if I get a felony, then this happens, and it keeps going on and on and on. And finally, we look at where you end up. So consequences. So basically, we're catalyzing consequences mentally. Jail, legal consequences, alone, death. There's only a few basic consequences that you can go to on the floor.
Correct.
Yeah. So we go there mentally and try to imprint that in your head.
Does that work?
Yeah, it actually works over time. It doesn't, the first time it's like, oh, cool, that was interesting.
Does that work more with problem drinkers or with alcoholics?
It can work with both.
And the reason I ask is because I've always thought that consequences really have no effect. It's like, I'm sure you hear people try to scare people with death all the time,
Right.
And I always say to people, scaring an alcoholic with death isn't really a scary thing.